The GEEK Files, 2026, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. An addendum. This happened, I heard about this from Smitty when I was up in Wrangell, working for Transprovincial, fall of 88, spring of 92. I've already told the story of the DC4 for perimeter where they forgot to put the locking screws in the nut for the main wheel, and the main wheel fell off on final. So this 767 crash thing in Newark, reminded me of there's more to this story, this poor bad luck DC4. DC4s sit high, their wings are high, so you tend to store, and hangars tend to store other aircraft under them. And this particular DC4 had a hydraulic emergency, had an emergency hydraulic pump. So if all the hydraulic pumps on the motors went out, I don't remember where they were, you had one that was battery operated to lower the main gear, instead of having to pump it down. Normally you have to pump it down. It takes a lot to pump the mains down on a DC4. Apparently some apprentice got in there, and I don't know how this worked. Like a lot of the wiring in these aircraft, after however many, 50, 60 years, tends to be a little bit, somehow activated the emergency hydraulic pump, selected gear up, and without the aircraft being on jack stands, and normally you put pins and bars in landing gear to stop them from collapsing, which worked on this occasion, except for one of the mains. There's a bar you put in the landing gear to stop it from cycling. It popped out, and this poor DC4 just slowly dropped its wing and crushed, I think it was some little Cessna fart cart underneath it, because he's big, and and then this same DC4 on landing, one of the engines just dropped off and dragged along the ground by all of its hoses and stuff. It turned out that they got a really good deal on the engine mount bolts, which turned out to be bogus bolts, and they had cracked, and the 4 engine mount bolts cracked, and the engine just fell off on landing. And when they inspected the other 3 engines, most of those bolts were cracked as well. So this aircraft was ready to have its engines fall off in flight. What else happened to this DC4? Probably other stuff, but the big one was it was flying up in northern nowhere to some remote community after a snowstorm. And so they called up and said, yep, we've cleared the runway, it's okay, you can land. It was, up there when you get gray days, everything becomes flat. It's really, really hard to tell depth because the sky and the snow are all the same color. And what they'll do is they'll get branches or something and put them down the edge of the runway, so you can at least see where the runway is and get some sort of depth perception. Smitty was flying this one, and so he came into this the strip he's been into many times, and just as he's clearing the threshold, the main landing gear hits something, gets sheared off, and he crashes the aircraft. Now he walks away again. What the community had done, instead of clearing the snow off to the sides, which would have buried all of these evergreen branches, and so you couldn't see it, they just piled the snow up at the end of the runways. So there was this huge mound of snow on the approach to the runway that, as you move snow around, it picks up heat, and as it cools, it freezes hard. And because it's a flat light day, Smitty can't tell that there's this huge mountain of snow at the end of the runway. So when he comes in to land, the mains hit this pile of snow and shear off and just crush the aircraft. They wrote it off. This time the 4 was just a write-off, complete write-off. Yeah. Oh, poor Smitty. So yeah, making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.